Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here back at Abu Dhabi Sustainable Finance Forum. But this time, I'm here for a slightly different reason and really looking forward to share with you some outcomes. Just before, we talked about COP28, climate finance as a whole. But I'm now thrilled to shift the focus to something that has been core to the success of the Global Climate Finance Center, partnerships. And I can think of a better example of this great work than HSBC, who has been a big supporter of GCFC from day one. In fact, we went public with them at COP28. It was one of our funding members, and very soon will become one of our board members. HSBC has also been a leader in climate finance here in the region, but also globally, and we look forward to working with HSBC, particularly on transition finance. Now, joining me for this conversation, let me introduce you to Sabrine Rahman, Managing Director and Head of Corporate Sustainability, MENAT at HSBC. Sabrine, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you here with us. Let's start with the big picture. We don't have that much time. We know that regional collaboration is essential to promote sustainable finance here in the Middle East and clearly globally. But how do you see these efforts addressing global challenges like climate change or resource scarcity?
Thank you, Mercedes, for having me, and Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, good morning. I think it's fair to say, and we've heard this message over and over again, that to tackle some of the most existential crises of our time, no one party can do it themselves. And partnerships, whether it's with philanthropies, with intergovernmental agencies, with our clients, these are absolutely critical for an organization such as ourselves to help contribute more systematically. And I think that if you look at what we've done with our peers, for example, in helping create industry standards with GFANZ, is one example. What we're doing with the Global Climate Finance Center is another, really trying to mobilize not only financial flows, but raising the best practice sort of examples. And what better place than this region to help lead the way? For HSBC, we have been in the region for over 70 years. We're a 160-year-old bank. So we've seen many of these transitions and revolutions sort of happening. But it is the biggest opportunity commercially of our time. And we have a colleague later on who will share some specific examples. But at the end of the day, we're here to help create public good. We're here to help distribute prosperity, to what Ambassador Majid was saying earlier, and we can't do that without solid partnerships.
Indeed, and one key example perhaps the work that we did at COP29, where we brought together different members of GCFC, HSBC clearly being one of them, and we explained what is it that we were doing here in Abu Dhabi, the UAE, around building that entire ecosystem on climate finance. Now, let me move into something a little bit more specific. We talked earlier as well with His Excellency Ambassador Majid Al Suwaidi on different type of innovative financial products and models. One of the challenges that we often see and hear is de-risking investments in emerging markets. Sabrina, in your view, how can tools like blended finance and impact investing could help unlock capitals for sustainability and projects, and build, very importantly, this investor confidence?
So I think the discussion on blended finance has really hit fever pitch, whether it's at platforms like COP, or even amongst the ecosystem here in the UAE. Over the last 2 weeks, there's been an incredible amount of discussions on how to de-risk, how to accelerate flow, and how to also promote investor confidence. So a lot of the work that HSBC has been doing, both here in the Middle East, but also in across a lot of the other markets that we have footprint in, is really to design and co-create innovative mechanisms. So for example, at COP29, we announced our further partnership as a part of the FAST-P program of Singapore, which is the greening investment platform, really designed to help accelerate the $5 billion required for Asia's energy transition. I think blended finance is still quite nascent in the Middle East and in this region, but Egypt is making some very, very strong movements on that, and they are the most active market right now. But I think this is an incredibly exciting area, and more institutional and commercial entities are leaning in because they are very supportive of this area, and as more governments and public financing is being allocated. So for example, for the just energy transition programs in Vietnam and Indonesia, we're seeing a huge amount of allocation from public sources, and that gives investor confidence, that gives institutional confidence that yes, we will down the line have a pipeline of bankable projects that is risk managed.
Indeed, and that's in fact one of our key areas at GCFC, at the Global Climate Finance Center, looking at transition finance, carbon market, but very important, de-risking mechanisms. Now, shifting gears and talking more about financial institutions, HSBC has been at the forefront of integrating ESG into your business model. But how do you see institutions like yours evolving that work? And what role does international cooperation play in accelerating this shift?
I think the transition that our institution has been on is very similar to many others in this room. And it's really that understanding of what our key levers are to influence change. And for us, as one of the world's largest financial institutions, we have three core areas that we feel we can really influence. One, it's being that partner for transition for our clients. We have millions of clients across a variety of sectors and geographies who are all facing the same challenges, and they really need that partnership element to help mobilize their commitments and their promise to their investors. The second is really catalyzing the new economy. So we've often spoken about the fact that capital is not flowing to where it's needed, and that's not only a geographical issue, but it's a sectoral issue as well. We have a lot of new climate technology options out there, but they are not at commercial scale yet. So that's why a lot of what we do is so complementary to the ethos of GCFC, because if we don't have commercial players crowding in to really support these early stage tech and climate companies, we will never see that acceleration that's required. And the third is really on focusing on supply chain. So we are the world's largest trade bank, but in saying that, we also have an incredible amount of suppliers in our supply chain, and we are really leveraging that. So, for example, we work very, very closely with Walmart to support their Gigaton project, which is really incentivized financial products and services for their suppliers who are able to adhere to Walmart's targets for their supply chain. So there's a lot that we can do using our products, our services, our influence. And what's fascinating now is that, ESG and sustainability is becoming more and more of a political topic. It's not something that is only considered by the private sector, and something that's quite heartening is to see the new round of NDCs that are being tabled, and many of them have very sound investment roadmaps that are supporting them, and I think that's absolutely critical because a lot of this planning was done in silo in the past, and we're seeing that acceleration and shift now to crowding in the real economy.
Indeed, and we can see as well here in the region, great amount of work happening, but very much ad hoc and uncoordinated, so the need of that collaboration and that platform. I think we have a bit more time for one last question, Sabrine. I'd love to hear your views about regional and global collaboration and partnerships driving innovation, particularly in the financial services market. How can we scale these models to have the bigger impact?
Look, I think we need to first start telling the story better of this region, right? And
we're too shy about the good things.
We are. And Mercedes and I had the pleasure of working together at COP28, and that really was such a fantastic platform for us to start creating and owning our own narrative from this region. I've worked in this space for close to 20 years. In the UAE, and the moment really is now. The innovation we're seeing in the way we partner, we have regulators speaking the same language as the private sector. We have government entities who are working alongside us. This is an unparalleled level of cooperation. But I think we need to, start accelerating and welcoming international players to both the UAE and Abu Dhabi, but also to the broader region.
Yep.
I think often we undersell the commercial opportunities here, and I think that through the partnerships that we've had, particularly with GCFC and through a lot of the other legacy initiatives from COP28, whether it be on regenerative agriculture, whether it's on really scaling other pools of capital, such as Islamic finance for adaptation projects, really promoting the leadership that this region is taking on promoting the blue economy. This is a narrative that the rest of the world hasn't often heard of. So I think partnerships are really our proof points. They are showcasing what is possible. We have some great outcomes that we should be sharing more systematically. And I think, at the different climate weeks, at the various COP conferences, we are getting there. And the dinner that we co-hosted at COP29 saw an incredible amount of interest, right?
Yeah.
So we had members from the White House, we had the Bezos Earth Fund, we had obviously a lot of the UAE clients and stakeholders, but it really was that convening of East and West, because honestly, the future is now pivoting to the East. So it's an incredibly exciting time, and I think for HSBC, we're leaning in as much as possible to help support that.
Indeed, and what's coming after Abu Dhabi Finance Week, ladies and gentlemen, is Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, taking place on the third week of January, where GCFC, in collaboration with its partners, will organize its annual meeting. So we look forward to having you attend that one as well. And I think, Sabrine, that's a great place to end our conversation. Thank you so much for your leadership, your expertise, and many thanks again to the organizers of the Abu Dhabi Sustainable Finance Forum for giving us some time to discuss all of it.
Thank you.